Hello comrades, yes it's me, a Yorkshireman, now living in Wales. Power to the people, comrades. So, what am I looking at today? Well, Sustrans, my favourite charity. I have to admit, they don't make me feel warm inside when I mention the name. And I'm going to look at further investigation into the walking and cycling index and the information they use. So, here is the data sources and methodologies. So this paper is about 70 odd pages long, and hopefully it all adds up. So what I'm going to do is go through a very simple process of trying to see if things add up. That's it, it's as simple as that. So looking at everything, you know, what they say, how does it link and does it make sense? But I'm going to do it in a very, very simple way because I sometimes think that's the best thing. So what methodology did they use? Well, according to these, they use a independent resident survey methodology. Right, okay, so that's having a chat with people, I suppose we're going to call that. Now, they also use, and not really mention this, is that also they then back that up with 38 different sorts of sources of information. Right, so what I'd expect to see is everything linked together and add up. That's what I'd like to see. Now, already as I look through this, they interviewed, they went across 17 cities, and I think it was approximately, added total together, about 23,000 people. However, they then expanded that little 20-odd thousand people to map out to about 12.5 million people. Yes, that's a big leap, isn't it? But that's what happens in research. So, as I started looking at this research, they said it was for respondents aged 16 and above. Right, okay, that's fine. However, as I go through the actual papers, you can see at the bottom, sources and notes, it says this is comprised of estimated number of walking trips done for the purpose of education by children under 16. Now, does that mean that, so this would imply to me, because they've put that there, but this is now included in this data set. But that makes no sense because they've already said that they're just going to interview people over the age of 16. So now we've got mixed data. Now the other thing which didn't make any sense as well is quite often these surveys, when you get a high number, normally you'll find that there's an incentive like a gift voucher to complete it. That's not uncommon, but it would also be good practice to make that really clear if that was the case. Now I don't know, so who knows. Anyway, I then started looking at some of the things, and as I say, if you do research, you want it to be quite robust. However, I look at question 2, and thinking about the different ways in which you'll travel around, how often do you, please give your best guess. Right, okay. So I don't know, is good research guessing? I guess I feel okay, I guess I feel alright. I guess I had a walk today. Most people can guess that you had a walk, because all of us at some time, as soon as we get out of bed and we're not lying down, have a walk. I don't know, so that's not a good start, because that's really, really vague at asking people to guess. And how do you record a guess? I don't know. Right, so it's not looking good. I then went up to question 3. Now question 3, in the last 7 days, how many one-way journeys did you make by a car up to 3 miles? Now that's interesting because it's saying how many, so that's asking for a specific number, which I find odd because in the previous question you had to guess. But also it's just saying up to 3 miles, it doesn't say any more than 3 miles, so I wonder why that is, I'm not sure. And then it's saying if you travel there and back, please count that as 2 trips, well, which I suppose it is. So then we go on to this question here, 4A, and this time it's estimate. Oh, right, goes on to how many one-way trips you walked in the last 7 days. So now we're back to the guessing bit. Guessing is like estimating. So does that make good research? I'd have to say not really. But, you know, let's go with it, I suppose. But then it goes on to say in the middle of that, do not count simple walks with no particular destination. Now, I don't know what a simple walk is. Now I could get up from my bed and go say, well, I'm walking to the bathroom. That's not a simple walk. That's a walk I need to do. So do I discount that or count that? And that's the problem I'm having now already with this. Now, the interesting bit is I go down the questions. Look at question 4B, blue arrow. It's now giving distances. Now that's good because that's something very specific and measurable. It also goes down further, bottom blue arrow. We've now got time span. That is good because that gives us more information, good solid data we can use. So I should be able to find this in the paper. Also go on to cycling. Right then. So again, look at cycling. How often do you cycle? Okay, so that's fine. There's a little bit of a pick list there. But we've also got miles and we've also got minutes. Again, oh, this is looking better type of research here. Right, so then I looked at the paper, and given that we've got times, we've got miles and all that sort of stuff there, I should be fine the total data, all these people did, but I can't. So that sort of makes a nonsense of this, because I'm guessing Sustrans are saying that active travel is really good and more people are doing walking, cycling and the rest of it, and therefore that's better, so therefore we need more money. But I can't find it, so it doesn't exist. So rather than just use myself, I then use the magic of AI, and I literally asked them, says, can you find any mileage, distance or times? And it says no, none exist. Right, so this paper's a little bit flawed already. So at that point I then thought, because I have done this type of investigation before, and I then asked the machine to come up with the average. Lo and behold, guess what it is? You can see here, walking and wheeling 1.1 miles a day, cycling 2.7 miles a day. There is exceptions, people who are like do it for a hobby, really fit, or might have to cycle to work back and forwards. Why didn't they just say that? This is what I don't get. But if it was anything really good, I feel quite sure that Sustrans would have published it. But they've asked the question but not published the data. Now, that raises my suspicious side. Now, they also then went on to turn around and say, as you run towards the bottom of the highlighted section, for example, reducing the cost of traffic congestion, not really, running a car, might look at that later, oh, healthcare, and the number of sick days, so this is reducing it all. Right, so the interesting thing is they don't ask people in the interviews about sick days. So where's that data come from? Because they've mentioned this in the actual front-facing paper to say it can reduce sick days. So where's that data come from? I'm not 100% sure, you see. However, maybe this question. Remember they didn't ask about sick days, but they've asked this question here, question 34. Do you have any physical or mental health conditions or illnesses lasting or expected to last for 12 months? Right, and then it says just basically cross box. So yes, yes. Now that could be most people. But then they go on to a list of conditions or health conditions or illnesses. Now these are not really specific conditions, are they? So as I then going through the report, I then came across this list here. And it says, walking and wheeling unlock health benefits for everyone. Well, they might do if you ask people specific questions, but you haven't. So how do you know that? Well, it goes on here. This is calculated using the Sport of England Moves tool. So this isn't really connected to their actual data or methodology, unless they actually applied the numbers of what people said, or the actual conditions, because as it goes on, and again we've got return on investment, which is always a little bit sketchy this day and age, but it goes, physical activity protects against many illnesses, moves, estimates the number, 8 specific conditions. Right. Now, bottom line is, from what I can tell, none of these 8 specific conditions are literally listed by Sustrans. So that's a little bit of smoke and mirrors going on there. So this report is not looking good at all. At that point I then did my own research, because they say the number of sick days can reduce the number of sick days, and a quick simple search on the internet says no, sick days have gone up. In fact, actually, believe it or not, in 2023 average sick days rose to 7.8 days per employee, with public sector workers average 10.6 days. Right, so it's going up, not going down as suggested by Sustrans, which is rather odd, because that's what they're claiming as a benefit. That's what they're claiming, not what I'm saying. At that point, they also said they can reduce the burden on the NHS, as you can see here. However, bad news, no, because according to everything like this, it goes on to say, while Sustrans' cost of living report estimated active travel prevented long-term health conditions, these savings have likely been outpaced. That's such a good word, isn't it? In other words, things have gone up, not gone down, as Sustrans a suggestion. And this is what it says. And just my gut instinct from keeping me finger on the pulse and watching different information says, yeah, this is true actually. Now, what this does mean is, yeah, we need to get more active. But also by default, what it actually does mean is that Sustrans and all the hundreds of £1 million are getting are really making no difference. So the question is what they're doing with the money. I'll be trying to look at that a bit later in another video sometime, because that's such a big question and a difficult question. Now, because I live in Wales, I then thought to myself, so what's happening in Wales? Oh gosh, look at this. Now remember, Wales has a very proactive approach to active travel and going to force us all to get on that horse and cart eventually. However, no. I can't believe major threats to sustainability of the Welsh NHS. So rising burden of the chronic illness in Wales. Right, so hundreds of £1 million going to Sustrans and everything else, and it's not making any difference. Now, as I said, what annoys me is all that money going there is clearly not targeted in the right areas, because if it was targeted, we'd see a massive drop, because I've been at this now for 4, 5, 8 years. Nothing's changed. Right, comrades, so I'm not taking with this as an overall document. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe or tick or whatever. Leave a comment, because apparently that helps the machine. And thank you for watching, and catch you on the other side. Thank you.